welcome to NetKno, the networking show. On this episode, we're getting a bit practical on this one. So we're going to look at all the different types of networking event formats that are out there, what's available, and what to expect. So there is such a plethora of events to choose from. There's a wonderful buffet, if you will, of networking events. And I often say, I always say to people, try them all, see what you like. You never know what you're going to love until you try it. But also, when we're first starting out in networking, so if you've never been to a networking event in your life, or you've not been for a very long time, when you're first starting out, find the ones that make you feel most comfortable. Because when you are comfortable, you're going to be more relaxed. It's going to be less terrifying. And you want to be yourself. People want to get to know the real you. So when you find events and environments that you feel more comfortable, more confident in, that is a great place to start from. It allows you to build up or rebuild those skills. And then you can start experimenting with other events as and when you will. But it's my job to tell you what's out there, and then you make the decisions for yourself. So when it comes to networking events and opportunities, the first decision really that you're going to have to make is whether or not you want to network online or you want to network in person. So I'll cover online first because there's less options, but networking online, it's really come into its own on the last few years since lockdown first hit and we had no choice but to network online. Events have really taken off, and there are loads of benefits to networking online. Firstly, you don't have to put shoes on. You don't have to leave the house, which is always nice. You don't have the additional cost and time of travel, so you can start networking with anyone in the world, really, which is fantastic, time efficient. It's good for the environment, which we also love. But networking online, it's often a place to make those initial first interactions with people. So you can meet a lot of people online in a very short space of time. But that's just that first kind of port of contact. It's quite difficult to build really deep and meaningful relationships through a screen. It's just harder to do. So networking online is a great place to go and have those first interactions. When it comes to online formats, you've got a couple of different options, really. Some networking events online are purely just networking events. There's sometimes where you just log on and then on the screen, you'll have all these lovely, lovely people there. Quick tip is to take a screenshot of all those lovely people because they've all got name badges on them. So you can go and have a little look for them on LinkedIn after. Lovely. But when there's a lot of people on the screen like that, it's hard. You can't get just like little conversations happening. So often the event is facilitated. So you'll either get invited to introduce yourself to everyone. So they'll go around one person at a time and you'll get the chance to say it. Your elevator pitch. So in 60 seconds, tell everyone who you are and what you do and why you're there. Or the organizer of the event will put everyone into digital little rooms. So you'll go off into a little breakout room with maybe one or maybe a small group of people where you'll get to have that one-to-one conversation. They'll sometimes give you a topic or a question to discuss, which makes for a nice icebreaker. But usually you'll only get maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5, maybe 7. So a set amount of time to have those conversations. Then you'll come back into the main digital space and then you might go off and do the same again to give you the chance to meet more people. So speed networking kind of format, that works well online. But again, you're meeting a lot of people, short amount of time, really time and cost efficient. However, you don't get the depth of connection that you do when it comes to networking in person. It's different. Other online options include things like seminars. I like to call them a networking sandwich because you arrive, you've got a chance to network at the beginning, which is your first bit of bread. Then you've got the fill-in in the middle, which is the topic, the theme, the talk, the seminar, the workshop, whatever it is. And then maybe a chance at the end to network again with the delegates. So that's your nice little networking sarnie. Make sure if you are networking online, use that chat function. Turn your camera on so people can see you, including the speaker. It makes a difference, I promise, it really does. Use that chat function, engage, get interactive, look at your setup. So what can people see in this little box that you've got? That's the space you've got to make an impression. So play around with lighting, make sure you're lit from the front. You've got something interesting in the background that showcases who you are and your individuality. So try and make sure that we share links in the chat box as well. I always say, if you have a conversation in the chat box or you ask a question during the Q&A, which is also a wonderful opportunity to introduce yourself to everyone as well as the speaker, Put a link in the chat box to anything that's relevant, anything that adds value, or even put a link to your LinkedIn profile in there. Say, it was really nice to meet everyone today. Had a great event. Here's my LinkedIn if anyone wants to connect, and then share that link in there so people can find you afterwards. Lovely. So we need to take advantage of the opportunities we have when it comes to networking online. Right. Now we're going to get to the in-person stuff. The in-person stuff is often the scary stuff. Without a practice of it, okay, don't beat yourself up about it. If the idea of walking into a room full of people scares the bejesus out of you, you're totally normal. We're told as kids, stranger danger, don't speak to strangers. And then all of a sudden, you're expected to know how to, and it's not that easy. However, there are loads of different formats, and finding the right format for you can help you feel more comfortable and confident. So depending on where you sit on the introvert-extrovert scale, that's probably going to be an indicator on what type of event's going to work well for you. So introvert, extroverts, we're all ambiverts. We're all a mixture of the two. No one is 100% one or the other, but we all tend to sit on more towards one side than the other. So, and it all comes down to where we get our energy from. So extroverts, like me, we get our energy from being around people. So networking events and environments with loads of people that are chatting and mingling, and it's really, really relaxed and informal. There's no structure. It's just come along, have a chat, have a mingle. They are wonderful for me. I leave those events bouncing off the walls, full of energy. I have a great time. Introverts, however, people who are more introverted tend to get that energy from being on their own. So that room full of people all chattering away at the same time can be really energy draining, really overwhelming. It also comes down to how we communicate. So extroverts, I start sentences and I've got absolutely no idea where I'm going until I get there. So I kind of think as I speak, whereas introverts will think before they speak. So we often think of introverts as being quite shy and quite quiet, and that's not always the case. They're just thinking before they're talking. So you just have to give them a minute. And then when they speak, they know what they're going to say, which is more than can be said for me. So again, those large environments with loads of people chatting, mingling, there's no structure to it. That's probably going to be better suited to you if you're more of an extrovert. Whereas introverts look for events that have a structure, that provide more opportunities for one-to-one conversations rather than one-to-many, because that's going to help you keep your energy levels higher for a bit longer. So looking at whether or not there's a format, there's one-to-ones, so like the speed networking kind of event, or if it's just come along and mingle, then that's probably going to be a bit more energy draining for introverts or energizing for us extroverts. So that's something to consider. On the scale of informal to really structured, you've got a lot of things that mix into the middle. So you've got things like awards evenings, charity events, those kind of sit-down dinner events. Even though at those kind of events, you've got potentially hundreds of people there, you're only actually networking with the people you're sat next to at dinner. So hopefully you get a good table, get a fun table. But sitting down, having a meal, sharing a few drinks, those kind of events, the awards, the charity dinners, that's a really nice social kind of environment to build and nurture relationships, whether they're new or they're existing ones. So again, if you are more introverted, that kind of environment might help and allow you to have more of those one-to-one conversations rather than one-to-many. We've also got events, things like net walking. So if you like being outdoors, you can go and net walk with people. And there's something really nice about having conversations when you're next to someone rather than just like staring them in the eye. It's a bit less intense. You know, you're walking side by side, having those conversations, being outdoors, great as well. But we've got everything in the middle as well. So, you know, a great indicator for picking what kind of networking event and format's going to be good for you is also going to be the topic or the theme of that event. So that's going to be an indicator on not only what the event itself is about, but also what kind of people are going to be in attendance. And this is where you can start thinking a bit more strategically. So thinking about, I want you to just kind of plant the seed there because we're going to cover this in a future episode, but thinking about what it is you want in return from networking, what your objectives are, and who it is you want to connect with. Looking for events that are focused on topics that those people are going to be attracted to, they're going to be interested in. Again, that makes sure that not only are you utilizing your investment into networking. You're positioning yourself in the right place, but you're also finding that tribe of people, which is really important when we're first starting out. So starting out in networking, whether that's finding people that work in the same sector as us, that have the same interests as us, finding that tribe, those people who are like us already, it makes it so much easier to allow us to settle into networking environments, networking events, build relationships with people that we've got things in common with, which is a fantastic way to build trust. We have that kind of shared language, shared interest, often shared experiences, which again is it's an easy way to start building these networking skills and building up these new kind of networking muscles to be able to then step further out of our comfort zone and look for events that are maybe a little bit more nerve-wracking. But that's okay. We take our time and you'll get there eventually. But to start off with, think about what's going to be the right fit for your personality type. Think about what kind of, if you prefer the structured events or if you prefer really relaxed and informal. Think about what logistically is going to work well for you. You know, if you've got commitments, like you've got to do the school run first thing in the morning, then networking at 6 a.m. it's not going to be the right fit for you. In the same breath, if you're like me and you like to be in bed by like 9 o'clock at night, then networking late at night, that's not going to be right for you. So you've got to think practically as well, but have a look, get on Google, see what's happening near you, make a little hit list of what's coming up that you might want to sample and start just experimenting. Go out there, try a bit of the networking buffet, see what tickles your fancy. Worst case scenario, you meet some new people, you have some conversations, you learn some stuff, and you find that maybe isn't the right fit for you. So go and give it a go, see what you like, and take it from there. So that is it about a little overview of the different kind of event formats that are out there. There's so much to choose from. The more events you go to, the more that you'll find pop up. And as I said, give them a go, see what you like. And speaking of, hope you liked the podcast today. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure that you subscribe, press the bell, and I'll see you at the next show.
A Liquid Studios production.